South Jersey, don't you dare touch that dial.
Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
The hits start in 5, 4, 2, 1. Hashtag Gospel with Supa, Steff, and the squad.
Yo, oh wow, that is loud. Supa, Steff is the birds playing. It's me. Hashtag Gospel, what you're listening to right here on We Have Gospel. And shout out to everybody who's listening on 88.7 FM, 100.3 FM, listening on the We Have Gospel app, listening on WeHaveGospel.com, and watching on watching on Facebook.com/HG Squad. If you're hearing a lot of noise,
Beyonce bought food, y'all.
Beyonce bought all of us food, so we are grubbing while we're also doing the show. And Beyonce actually has the butt bag right next to her. I'm gonna turn her mic down because she got hers right. Is it better? She got it right next to her mic. She got all the food right next to her mic. If you're watching Facebook.com right now /HG Squad, you can see that we got all the food out here. They all eating subs. That's why they're quiet right now. I got a grilled cheese. Beyonce got me a grilled cheese.
Word, she hooked it up,
He
yo.
set the whole squad
Yo,
up.
man, I'm gonna cry. Beyonce just came through for real, yo.
She did. She came through big today.
So
Look at God.
So with all that being said, Beyonce's in the building.
Praise him.
And we need to turn that. That's loud out there. Who's that? Is somebody talking?
No, I think that's us.
Or that's us?
Yeah, it's the echo.
So Beyonce's in the building. Tal J's in the building.
What's up, y'all?
And the real P2's in the building.
What's happening, man?
And Minister D Hut's in the building.
Yeah.
And E. Lee's in the building.
Kingdom.
And without any further ado, we're going to get into these topics. Now, I want you to know that today's episode of Hashtag Gospel has been brought to you by, sponsored in part by, Hawks Family Businesses, serving our customers and community for over 30 years, and Beacon Hall, turning moments into memories. And I can testify to the fact that Hawks Family Businesses, they are a blessing, especially a Hawks moving company, because they helped me move some things before. The great prices, and honestly, I called them in the same day. They helped me move something. So I called them at the last minute and they still hooked me up. So that was a blessing at a reasonable price. And also with Beacon Hall, we're about to have another event at Beacon Hall. It's going to be the Jermaine Dolly event, a night with Jermaine Dolly, going down August 17th. Make sure you come through. Tickets are $15 in advance, $20 at the door at Beacon Hall. You know the place already. And it's going to be at 7 p.m. So make sure you make some plans to come out and see that, okay? And if you don't know who Jermaine Dolly is, that's the guy who sings the song, and not tell them that it's you. That, and also he sings the "Come and Knock on Our Door," that song. So come and check him out. He used to sing with Ty Tribbett as a background singer, and now he's doing his thing. Getting into this topic, ladies and gentlemen. So President Trump, he just had a meeting with a bunch of influential black pastors, right?
We just gonna jump into it.
We're not gonna
start off.
We're gonna jump into it because we don't got time for that. We been playing music and stuff. We don't got time for that. Look, was it right for these influential black pastors to go and sit down with Donald Trump? It's all over the news. One pastor in particular, John Gray, pastor of Relentless Church, formerly of Joel Osteen's church. What's the name of Joel Osteen's church? I forgot already.
Lakewood.
There you go. Formerly of Lakewood. Now he took over a church and turned it into Relentless Church, and he's doing great. I love John Gray. I've been following John Gray since he was back when he was of course he started off, he was singing with Kirk Franklin, and then he became a comedian. I've been following him even back then, years ago, when he was a comedian, and his testimony was that he was a virgin in his 30s, still a virgin, you know what I'm saying? And he really saved himself until he got married, and now he's married with kids and everything, and he has his own church. I'm very proud of what John Gray has accomplished. I love him. I love his approach to ministry. and everything. He's a great guy. I follow his church on Facebook. I watch their broadcasts and everything. So I was shocked when I saw John Gray sitting next to Trump, right next to Trump. Now, I'm going to let y'all speak before
Why were
I
you
speak.
shocked? Why were you shocked?
Because I felt like that was not the move, yo. Like, that was not a good look.
Are you playing some of the clips? Are you gonna play some of the clips?
Actually, we could, if somebody will pull out their phone, we'll just plug their phone in and play the clips, because I don't have any recordings of the clips on me.
What was the agenda
The agenda of
the meeting?
I don't know. That's the whole thing.
The agenda was something about reform or something like that. Let me see.
Prison reform?
Yeah, prison reform.
Prison reform? Okay.
Exactly what was.
And actually something came out, or something actually happened. Like something actually took place.
Something took place.
Let me see.
Which was what?
Hold on 1 second.
Hold on.
Yeah, it says Trump gives thumbs up to prison sentencing.
Yeah,
reform
they're
bill
all in our
at the pivotal meeting.
Hold on, but didn't Obama already implement that?
I don't know about Obama. I don't know. I don't really know too much about politics. I'm not a politics person, but I'll play the clip stuff. You give me the cord.
The cord is right there, and you can plug it into your phone. You probably gonna have to take your case off, because if it doesn't go all the way in,
this case is so hard to get off. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like struggling right now.
It could be somebody else's phone. But I mean, in the meantime, in between time, while we're getting that clip together, how do some of you guys feel about him meeting with well, not just him, with all the black pastors? One of the black pastors actually said that Donald Trump was one of the most pro-black presidents of all time. This is what this guy said. Okay? How do y'all feel about that? Like, do y'all think if y'all were a pastor, would y'all have went to go sit with Trump? Come on, answer these questions.
If you hang around a clown long enough, you will turn into a clown.
I beg to differ, because I was always the one that was saved in high school when I had a lot of clown friends, and I never became a clown. So I beg to listen. I'll say it right to their face. They know what I represent, so I beg to differ on that statement. I mean, the word does talk about that too, but you got to be stronger than Lord. That's what I believe. In order not to be swayed. So.
I'm with you on that, B. Facts.
I need you to come closer to the mic, Ely.
And I actually watched the clip, and I don't think John Gray made a mistake. I think he just see he just see an opportunity to do something other than what he's normally known as. You know what I mean? There's a bigger opportunity for him, and also like all the black pastors that sat there. I'm hoping that they sat there to impact their communities through being further connected with that reform.
All right, so I can't take it no more.
Well, hold on, I got the clip. I got the clip now.
Y'all know I always usually play the opposite side, but I really just feel like this. When the White House announced that Pastor John Gray and his affiliates would be there, did they mention him as, the black pastors are coming, or did they just say the pastor? Or is that just important for us?
Well, it was
black people that it was black pastors.
Well, no, it was all black.
Everybody say.
So it had
everybody was black.
But
the majority. When I looked at that
they had
table,
all Hispanics too.
Did they announce him as the black
all
pastors?
minorities.
Because I think
I don't know.
Pastors.
But all I
right?
It wasn't no white pastors there.
No.
Well, let me.
If he's
it wasn't no listen.
Invited the black pastors.
It was not no white pastors there. I ain't seen not one white pastor at that table.
Can I just play this clip?
What's the clip? You want to set it up? What's the clip?
This one is of John Gray defending himself.
Okay, we're gonna hear John Gray and what he has to say about being with Donald Trump. Check it out.
I want to make one quick statement because you may have been privy to looking at the news, and some of you may have seen your pastor on there. I, along with a number of other leaders from the African American and Hispanic communities, were invited to the White House today to speak with the president about criminal justice reform and identifying ways where churches can partner with helping to reacclimate nonviolent offenders into the workforce so that we can stop them from going back to prison, getting them jobs with benefits so they can provide for themselves and their families, breaking multi-generational poverty cycles. And while I was there, I was asked to pray for our president and our nation. And I did that. I did not go as a politician, nor did I go under partisan rhetoric. I'm not a Democrat, nor a Republican, nor an independent. I'm a Christian. And I went as a man of God. And I wanted to be heard that if there's anybody who thinks they're above praying for people who sometimes they may not agree with, then you don't have the heart of Christ. And I want it to be said that as a kingdom church, we have people from every different background, walk of life, and political persuasion. And though we may not agree on everything, we agree on the blood. This is the only thing you'll ever hear me say about it. People have requested, the news has requested interviews. I'm not doing any interviews. I don't want any of that. I'm here to preach the gospel and build this church. But I want you to know that your pastor wants poor people and broken people and those who need a second chance to have the opportunity. And that's why I went, and that's the only reason I went.
All right, well, what's up with the music? What's going on? What's up with the music? Like you know
they motivational speakers, man.
I get it,
everything
but
they do is like,
listen, man.
when they got the band on high, honey.
Jay, I don't know where that other mic was that was in there, but I need you to pull that out because I'm.
You talking about what?
They're motivational
But
speakers.
I think I might have
Pastor
one.
John Gray, you better. Well, first of all, let me.
He's a pastor. I'm talking outside of that. They do motivational.
Let me correct
speeches
everybody
all the
that's
time.
even listening. That John Gray was a motivational speaker. I need people to get with him now because since he's got ordained into his own church, he's on a different level.
No,
he's on a whole. I see.
He's always been on fire.
Well, he's check him out now.
Well, he has elevated.
Check him out now.
John Gray. I always listen to John Gray because he's to me he was one of the most like regular. Like he was never real hooply holler. He's always regular. He told
I think my biggest thing was I was a part at Yolanda Adams. Steff, you know Lexi?
Yeah.
She came at him. I was reading all the comments. I'm like, yo, these people are really coming at him.
I wouldn't come
and
at him.
You don't even know it's just spiritual warfare.
I wouldn't disrespect him ever because I love John Gray. So I'm not going to disrespect him. What I'm going to say is his intentions were pure. But when you know, and he said that his wife told him this, that what you're doing and your intentions are going to be overwhelmingly overshadowed by what things look like. By the perception
let me say,
of even when he was sitting at the table, Ely, he was silent. Like when you saw the clip, he was sitting there silently while this other guy down the road.
But you missed that he prayed for everybody.
Okay,
and that alone could have just been a seed in Donald Trump's, just a seed in the building, the seed in Donald Trump's life. You don't know. First of all, John Gray is on a different level right now. I need y'all to get with him because he's about to lead this generation to another place. I need y'all to really get with John Gray because God is really using him in this time, and I don't see nothing wrong. I get it. It's Trump. I personally don't see nothing wrong. I think we see what we see. We see clips.
Do you think Trump is finding people with followings and paying them under the table to form relations to make it good for him? Y'all think that at all?
In some cases, yeah, not this one though.
I think it's even more simple than that.
Mm-hmm.
What are we mad that John? What is anybody mad that John Gray sat down with Trump?
Because
for? Because this is the thing. If we carry that attitude, we are doing the same thing the opposition has done for years. I don't understand it. So because Trump is the bully or we see him as a racist, we're not supposed to sit at the table with him to try to bridge the gap.
No,
we're supposed to stonewall too.
If I was to sit down with Trump right now, the conversation that would go forth would need to be on, like, if they recorded a conversation with me getting down to sit with Trump for the first time, it wouldn't look like what you saw when you saw John Gray sitting there quietly. While this other person who was on the other side of the table was like, Donald Trump is
but
one
y'all gotta
of the
understand,
most
he's still, at the end of the
pro-black.
day, as much as people don't like him, he's still over the government. He's still a leader of the nation. Nobody's gonna go in and just be disrespectful to our president.
I didn't say
We still gotta respect him. He's still a leader.
I didn't say disrespectful.
We still gotta pray for him. There's still a certain way things have to be done.
What Tal J said, right? Clips. How many times has anybody here, aside from myself, ever been to the White House?
Nope.
Or had to speak to a White House correspondent on official business?
Nope.
when you are on camera, you have a card, and they tell you what you are and what you are not allowed to talk about.
Then why go to the White House if you can't control?
Because besides that stuff that's being publicized, it's a whole different. I believe that there's more conversations that have taken place.
There are absolutely more conversations.
This is why I couldn't go to the White House, because if I know that I can't
this is why church folk
that was an introduction.
get on my nerves because people.
If y'all can see Steff's face right now out there in Radio Land, you would see. That's why
it's the same church folk, Steph. It's the same church folk that don't want to be judged for cussing, for drinking, for smoking, for doing this, for doing that. The same church folk that don't want to be judged are judging him for sitting down with Trump.
I disagree with that.
Well, I agree with myself.
Listen, you said the same church. You lumped everyone. See, I agree with you about the John Gray thing, but you said everyone who's on the opposite side of us is on the spectrum where they're the ones who don't want to be judged for this, don't want to be judged for that, but then they're judging him. But honestly, there are some activity. You go on Twitter right now. There are many civil rights activists who are church people who are upset with it just because of everything that the institution of Trump's presidency has stood for. They're upset because of all this stuff that Trump has aligned himself for, and now they see this guy who in the picture.
How much more upset would they be if President Trump didn't even entertain a conversation with those same said black pastors? To say that, I don't even care what you're thinking about. So we cry because we can't sit at the table.
Exactly.
And now we're crying because we're at the table.
Right.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, my point was just that there's a whole spectrum of people who are upset about it.
I want to be able to go.
Well, I think people are. I don't think they like who's at the head of the table.
It ain't affecting the meat on my kitchen table.
I think that people need to realize that it's deeper than the surface. It's spiritual warfare.
It's way more deeper than the surface.
I believe that God is taking him to another level. So this is something that it's an attack that he has to encounter and he has to win. That's my personal belief in the situation. It's just it's a spiritual attack.
Listen, I was just watching a sermon the other day by T.D. Jakes, and it's an old one, but I always watch it. Okay. And he said when you know when God is elevating you.
I'm here to defend you today, John.
You know when God is elevating you when you're constantly uncomfortable. When they said it puts it to a point to where as though God is digging in to you to remove some things until he hits that solid rock. And that's where I think John Gray is at.
Okay, so we have a caller. What's your name and where you calling from?
Sister Kia. I'm calling from Egg Harbor Township, New Jersey.
All right.
Is that Sister Kia? Sister Kia?
It is Sister Kia.
Hey, girl.
Beyonce. So, yes, I agree with you, Beyonce, that we just don't know the conversation that's being had. So we shouldn't really judge. And the other thing is, Trump called them to the table. So whatever he called them for, that's what needs to be addressed at that time. And we can't just go bum rushing with all our ideas. Sometimes you just have to sit at the table and you have to listen. So there's a timing of things. Maybe right now they're just building a relationship. Then you can come back and say, okay, well, I have these other concerns. So I think that we should take the judgment off those men of God that sat at the table, because we have to be there.
Those men of God, that's right.
All right.
We have to hear what's happening. And if you, any strategist, even if you played basketball, football, there was a day that you didn't run on the court of the field. You sat down and you watched tapes. You had to study your opponent. You have to study your enemy. You have to know how to strategize, how to get what you want. So I think that it was excellent, and we have to watch what those people do now. Don't judge them because they sat at the table. Judge them for what they do after they sat at the table.
Right, right.
Thank you so much for calling in. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right.
So we're referencing strategy. So then we have to question, well, what is the strategy of him calling them to the table? And then we're not supposed to judge them because we didn't hear the conversation. But we've seen this same rhetoric and narrative happen before with him, where he's called black entertainers to the table, and we've seen the fruit of that, and it's not good.
Well, she just said, watch the fruit now.
Right.
It just happened. So now we have to watch. Now we have to watch now what's taking place.
We know what he stands for. He has made it perfect. He's made it crystal clear what he stands for in the last. How long has he been in office now?
Almost a year.
Yeah, like how much? Say again.
It's been almost a year. Well, about
almost a year.
9 months. Since he got elected, about 9.
I don't know.
Not over a year yet.
I don't know if I'm. I don't know if I'm missing.
But hold on. Let me say this.
You're right.
Okay, so we know what he stands for, right? So in order for us to really have a dialogue that I think would be beneficial, not just to him, but also to the people from the outside looking in who see this is that I need to be able to also represent wholeheartedly, unfiltered what I stand for. And when you just sit me at a table with no type of voice, you know, it matters that in the clips he wasn't talking. It matters. Okay, the fact that you get to control how this looks, control this narrative, it puts you in the control of
That's
the.
What you're missing. That's what
it puts
everybody's
him
missing.
in the control of
doesn't.
Trump.
You know what?
It gives the control to Trump. I'm not mad
Steff.
at John Gray for being there. What I'm saying is John Gray gave up his control.
Can I interject something for a second? I want to say this. No matter how much control you think Trump has or doesn't have, when it comes to the thing we're looking at the natural. We're looking at the fact that we have Donald Trump who's in the office whether we want him there or not. The fact that he's there is a natural position. But when we're praying, we're talking about the supernatural. We're talking about a God who's in control of all things. So whether or not John Gray was right or wrong for being there in the natural place, what he did was he elevated to a spiritual level when he took it to prayer. Because whether or not you want him next to Trump, when he is praying next to Trump, he ain't talking to Trump.
If I was to go pray, if I was to go pray at the club.
Okay,
people. Yes, we're doing it.
Okay.
If I was to go pray at the club, a lot of people out there, and I'm not talking about the Saints. I'm talking about the Aints. The Aints are going to be like, "Oh, Super Steff is at the club." Like, hold on.
Okay, I'll wait.
So
I'll
Super Steff is at the club.
Finish.
Super Steff is at the club. I don't say strip club. Super Steff is at the strip club. Then I guess God must be cool with being at the strip club because Super Steff is at the strip club. Ain't gonna be nothing about. They're not gonna say nothing about. Oh yeah, Super Steff is praying at the strip club. And Super Steff is laying hands on the strippers. The devil is a liar.
What you calling them strippers?
But the devil is a liar. But what I'm saying is, you cannot allow your good to be evil spoken of, because that's going to cause more people to fall than anything else. You can pray for Trump from your freaking house. Okay?
Honestly,
I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit crazy with that. But this is ridiculous.
Hold on, so you can pray for Trump at his house, but so that defeats the whole purpose of us coming up to the altar and having the elders pray for us. They can pray for me while they at home.
It's even more simple, B. The radio caller, Miss Kia, said it. Steff said it, and it's been said a couple of times, right? The enemy. That is the President of the United States, one. Do we agree with what he does all the time? No. But what I hear, is we are creating division. Period. Yep. Your personal feelings towards him.
Well, that's always the problem in the minority community.
But just like he was saying,
don't take it there.
Because that's exactly what it is.
Don't take it there.
That's exactly what it is.
What has Trump said out of his mouth?
Let's
think about the stuff that Trump has said out of his mouth while he was campaigning to become an office.
Keep your enemies closer type of thing?
Are you kidding me?
First of all, he's not my enemy.
Oh, no, his enemy.
Check it out. President, by no means am I endorsing President Trump. I'm not a Trumpster, right?
You see how you had to say that? You wasn't even sitting next to him? Imagine sitting next to him.
How much you have to say that?
Why did Pastor Gray have to put out that statement afterwards at his church? Why did Pastor Gray have to go on CNN? You know why?
Because of his culture.
Judged him.
Come on, man.
If he wasn't judged for bullying, he would never had.
Look, I don't even think it was because the church folks judged him. He explained that because of everything that surrounds Trump and that's been surrounding Trump. So he felt the need. Well, no, that's what I thought when he went to explain it. Why am I explaining? If God gave him a vision, and this is what God told him to do. All right, go sit at this table, Pastor Craig, whatever, go sit at this table with Trump. Put your imports in. Why am I explaining to you? Why I'm coming back and say, hey, I had a. If you want to say anything, I had a sitting with Trump and a bunch of other influential leaders, and things are going to start happening in the name of Jesus. So today at church, y'all. But he went into detail and gave a full, like he had to explain why.
Because he had to.
You know what I mean? And I think it's just because what surrounded Trump from the beginning
he had to explain because
to
of
now.
Trump. He had to explain because of Trump, D-Hut. It wasn't because of the church folk. It's because of what Trump.
It was uncomfortable for him. And at the time he was explaining to the carnal mind of the people. But God, when you moving in God, is never going to be comfortable because it's going to be opposite of carnal. It's going because God is spiritual. It's going to be spiritual. You feel what I'm saying? So that's what I think. I mean, I ain't really dive into the whole thing. I never really dove into the whole full Trump thing because it ain't really affecting the meat that goes on my dinner table at home for my children. So, like for me, I feel like what they're doing can be. John Gray and them did it because I believe they're trying to affect their communities, and they can affect them on a greater scale if they sitting with the leader of this country. You feel what I'm saying? And that's all I see. Like everybody talking about the spirit, and I know it's spiritual because God wouldn't have had it so as men of God. You know, I don't know none of them personally, so I just claim them from what they are on TV. But I don't know what their backstories are. I didn't study none of them. But what I can say is they was there because they feel like, okay, he's given the opportunity for me to affect what's been going on in my life forever. Black men or minority men getting locked up and this and that. This is an opportunity for us to break, because he said it himself. He said, listen, if y'all listen to what he said, listen, this might be an opportunity for them generational curses to be broken. So I think John Gray is there for reaching of changing the generation in the culture.
That's, you know what I mean? I don't question that. I don't question that.
I wouldn't argue with Trump if I had the opportunity to sit at the table with him. I hear him out, and because I know what God told me, I might not have a lot to say, because I just look at this as my connection, this is an opportunity, and what I'm gonna do is any chance I get, I'm gonna grab a little bit from each table to try to make a difference for my surroundings, bring it back to my community and make it better. You know what I mean? So I mean, I believe it's a spiritual thing, but Trump, I don't know, man. Like, what you got to say, Professor Jack?
Go ahead. I was browsing through Twitter just to see what like the people were saying about this, and a lot of people on the opposite side of me who were like, "Why was John Gray so quiet?" A lot of them were expecting him to go into the White House with a Moses mentality of "let my people go" and be so outspoken and tell the leader.
God told Moses to do that.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
God might not told John Gray.
And they keep on referencing all these people who were indignant with leadership, who was out because leadership was out of pocket. But the flip side, you see all these references in the Bible where you see leadership that's in power, where the people of God are put in a position where they're right by the right hand of that leadership. When you look at how beloved Joseph was, how beloved Daniel was with the Pharaoh and the three kings that with the Pharaoh that Joseph had served under and the three kings that Daniel had served under. When you look at even Esther, who was literally married to the king, who wasn't necessarily a person of God. When you look at all these people who are in a position of power next to great kings of status, you look at it and you see God doesn't always deal with it in the same way.
Okay, so can I address this now? Joseph was a slave. Daniel was a captive. Okay,
and what
John Gray?
Listen,
hold on. Can I talk?
I let you finish. I let him go first. Let me go.
Coming in hot today.
So listen,
because this is making me mad.
Listen, so we're talking about the Hebrew people who were despoiled of their own land, people who have been brought into bondage and slavery, people who unfortunately have been taken away of their power. And much in the same way, we are African diaspora. While we are free in this country, it doesn't necessarily mean that we have all the freedoms and liberties and privilege of white people. So in a way, we are still slaves. And yeah, okay, we're at the table and we don't have a choice about it. But when it comes down to it, the prayer changes everything.
The pastor of a mega church is not a slave or a captive. Understand what I'm saying to you. If you have the power that you have and the influence that you have and the platform that you have to be careful not to be drawn into somebody else's world where you have literally no control over what you are made to look like. I would never just go sit down at a table with Trump and just sit next to him and be quiet.
You would never.
Sounds
never.
Like
you know what? You know what John said? Wait, hold on.
Like
can I stop everybody? Can I stop everybody?
Right.
I was just scrolling, and John Gray said he was being obedient, and that's all that matters. I don't care what nobody else got to say.
Listen, that's what I said.
Told him to go, then that's what it is.
That's why I probably would have been
everybody
quiet.
Saying everybody got their mouth on this pass. Y'all watch him go higher.
Listen, I'm not putting my mouth on him.
I didn't say you. I said all the people.
Steff, you know what I'm talking about? I'm talking about the fact that Trump gets to control this narrative. He gets to control this picture.
But John Gray prayed.
Let's paint a picture. Because we are quote unquote church folk, we know who John Gray is in our community, right?
Okay.
So you see him as a person in a position of power. I guarantee that if you ask the majority, we'll just say 10 people, right? 10 random people.
They're going to say he represents Christ.
They do not know.
They're going to say he represents Christ because he's a pastor.
You don't even know what I'm about to say.
Okay.
They don't know who John Gray is.
Everybody
he represents Christ.
Everybody.
One of my best friends didn't know until I told her
everybody in the world.
2 weeks ago.
Everybody, not just the United States. But see, the mistake that you're making is you were putting John Gray on the same level as the President of the United States. and it's not.
They're not the same.
He is the leader of the free world. And what I explained to you is...
That's what I said a while ago.
What I explained to you is
the same thing.
that narrative is controlled. The fact that they even sat down to have that conversation...
They want to turn the cameras on if they didn't have it set.
It's controlled. We just watched a couple weeks ago. He sat down and he talked with Kim Jong-un, right? Mm-hmm. And they showed us, and they were doing all the lip reading and all of that. You see all the little funny memes. So they were nice in front of public, or
but
whatever
they
had on
the
camera.
low.
But you have no idea what that conversation was like when those cameras went off. So whatever God's mission was for John Gray to sit there, it is none of our business to judge that, because if it's spirit led and God told him to do it,
right,
then do it. You don't know what's going to come from that. That's all I'm saying.
I don't disagree with that at
all.
all.
Coming from, but I think it's the same thing even with like Steve Harvey when he had to meet with him and everything else. I think it's like even though you might not like what somebody's doing, you gotta show up at least and be there. Like, you know what I mean?
Or because
and
that's
you don't
because
show
of where
up
they
to
are.
the table when you be invited again.
Exactly. Like it's like
if President Trump is such the racist that we make him out to be, right, as a people,
right.
If John Gray goes in there on a crusade, who does he invite next, if anyone? Who does he listen to, if anyone? There is strategy by it.
Listen, you have to,
right?
you have to be led by the spirit.
I don't like the scenario.
We could look at the Iraq
Trump
war,
is in
right?
control of that scenario.
He is the president.
I'm split a little bit.
He's in control. You are nothing but a black face that he wants. He wants that black face. He wants those black faces sitting next to him. He wants the picture. He wants the press. That is what I'm saying to you. You are being used. John Gray and all the rest of them were used. I'm not saying that John Gray was. I'm not saying.
Yeah, in the natural they were used. In the natural they were used.
They were used.
But the thing is, in the natural they were used. But at the end of the day, we don't serve the natural president. We serve God.
My thing is,
no matter what the plan of the using, go ahead, Dion. Yep.
Exactly.
I'm not racist. Look at my black friend.
Okay, we have another. We have another caller. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Marcus Witherspoon.
Welcome to the show once
Mark,
again.
Okay, what's going on, brother?
Bring it on, Uncle Mark.
Oh, not much. We hanging in there. I know you got something good.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be good. Real quick, where do everybody talk about Pastor John Gray? What church does he come from?
Houston, Texas. Joel Osteen.
Yeah,
Who was his mentor?
Joel Osteen.
Okay, his membership is
Actually, he's from Newark though. He's from Newark. He's from Newark, New Jersey.
His membership
Originally
is
born and raised in Newark, New Jersey.
His membership is Dominic what?
White, ain't it?
Excuse me, he came from Joel Osteen, but I don't know if that was his foundation. That's what we need to check on while we getting facts. Okay, that ain't his foundation.
Well, he came there. Well, if you check his story,
I'm here to ride or die today.
Nah, but when you check his story, he said that. He said
he have his church is Dominic what?
White people.
Yeah.
Okay. So my thing now, I'm about to say this. Hear me out.
Go ahead.
He was appealing to who sent him there.
Oh.
He was on his own. Okay, this is all political to me. Because if the Lord sends you there, I heard what somebody said, you don't have to explain yourself. I'm not explaining myself to nobody.
That was me that said that.
If the Lord sent me there, I have no reason to explain to nobody. My issue with all the pastors that was there is that for Pastor Darrell Scott to talk about President Obama, another black man, I had an issue with that. You do not, as leaders, I would have said, we're not here to talk about President Obama, who I voted for. Now, we're here to talk about issues. Let's talk about the issue. Each one of them thanked Donald Trump like he did in the first time while he was there. I appreciate you having me there because, give us the opportunity. It was a photo op.
That's what
because
it was.
Joel Osteen wasn't there. T.D. Jakes wasn't there. Paul Morton wasn't there. None of the top preachers that we know that was there, because Paul Morton said he wasn't meeting with them.
So you say he went and got a second-hand players, huh?
People. My thing is, sometimes he was probably sent there. He probably didn't want to go. But since he was under Joel Osteen, who I believe, I could be wrong, was a Trump supporter. Wow. So when someone has groomed you, what are you going to do?
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. Because we just listened to the clip, and we're talking about a whole bunch of nothing. because what he said was God told him to go. So why are we talking about who he's under or any of that? Because God said go.
What I'm saying is
God
that
said
if
go.
God told him to go, why do you go on CNN and try to explain yourself?
That's so-
Why
do you have to explain yourself?
I'm sorry, hold on. You said he went on CNN?
He went on CNN with Don Lemon. Why did he do that?
His hands played himself twice.
No. Check it out. I'll give you an analogy right now.
From a lot of people because Donald Trump, let's be honest, is a racist.
That's an opinion. We can't do. Let's say this, Uncle Mark. Let's say this.
He does not like people at all of color. He don't like us.
Let's say this. Let's say this. I'm going to give you an analogy.
You address the issue. Why are we talking about prison issues? And that's really not the main issue.
Because we're making it a black thing now. Let me say this. If I spank my kid in public, he absolutely deserved it. But if the police run up on me, I got to explain that.
Yep.
Right.
Right? So, yeah, he had that conversation with the president. Now, your whole congregation coming for you, you might feel the need to explain that.
You know what? No. I beg to differ on that. If the police run up on you, depending on the way you're living. If you're living a certain way and the police run up on you, you ain't got to explain that.
Did you beat him? Did you choke him?
You know what I mean? Oh, right. I missed that part.
Was you taking your fist and just beat him down, or you slapped him beside his head? There's a difference between getting slapped and beaten and public.
Him explaining himself has nothing to do with the fact that he went.
You know, one thing.
That's a whole different.
I agree with that.
And one thing I want to say about that is the fact that he was in Houston, Texas, makes him more equipped as African Americans who he's been in an environment where he's been the minority, and he's still able to preach and talk. Right, so that makes him more equipped than a lot of black preachers to actively talk in that environment because he's used to dealing with both the openly racist people and the closet racist evangelicals. Because I tell you this, in 2008, I saw a lot of pastors that I loved and respected.
How old was you in 2008? 13?
Man, I don't even know how old. I'm 25 now. I'm 25 now. So back it up.
I agree with you, right? But what I'm saying from our beloved people, even Steff right here, love him to death. We are not observing the ability to be able to separate how we personally feel about a man from the job that was meant to be done. And you have to be able to take your personal feelings for the president.
How do you deal
you have
with
to be able to separate those things.
How do you deal with a racist? If you go into the White House, how do you deal with a racist president when you sit at the table? You know he's racist. When he said, "I don't want no black people."
You know what? I was just telling D, like,
did he say that when he was?
Well, hold on. We deal with it all the time. We work for racists.
Right. All day.
We live next to racists. We go to school with racists. We deal with them all the time.
It's
how do you go to a White House when you try to talk about the prison?
You go
black people going to jail.
The reason you will go is that it's because you're being obedient to God and you care about the Lord's work, and that's it.
This man talked about President Obama, and this man Daryl Scott said that.
So what did that have to do with anything? I didn't vote for Obama.
He said he did more for black people than Obama did. You're not there for that.
Why is that racist? And you know what? We can have a conversation about that on another day. And you really gonna be mad at me about this? No. Black people are
always the victim.
Because when we talk about stuff like this, I like to talk facts, right? In public, politics is not something I talk about. But I'm gonna tell you like this: he was dead on when he said that. Now disagree with me, and we can have a whole nother show about what Obama did for black people versus Trump.
I gotta agree with you in this way.
He's not presidential.
Yeah,
but he's done good things.
I gotta agree with you in this way. What I gotta say about President Barack Obama as the first black president is that what we have to understand is the amount of pressure that he was under to perform well as a president in general. And I want you guys to think back about all the things he tried to pass that were beneficial for everybody, white people included. People included, that they turned down. So how is he going to attempt to do things that are exclusively more beneficial for our community when they won't even accept free healthcare for everybody?
But listen, check it out. As soon as as soon as Trump got in office,
trying to do everything and dismantle what everything Obama did, but you want to sit at the table with the man when he tells you, point to his plate, he don't even like Obama.
What does it have to do with the price of tea in China?
If he don't like a man that was the president and don't even respect him, I don't believe he respect the pastors that was there. It was there. It was a photo op.
Let me tell you something. These people so busy condemning somebody else.
Let it be honest.
I'm done with it.
Listen, to be Listen, to be honest, us as believers, and us as people, period, we gotta be careful at all this stuff that's publicized. You know what I mean? We gotta be careful. Yeah, we do have to be careful with our own feelings.
Ourselves.
We do.
Are we gonna judge the judger?
We do, but we paying attention. But the problem is we paying attention to all this social media, all this stuff that it's publicized and it's meant to be seen for a purpose. You feel what I'm saying? Like, and we paying attention to all this stuff, but right on our right side, our whole communities is dying off. You know what I mean? So that's why I said, me personally, if God sent me there, I will handle it in meekness. I dig how John Gray and them handled it at that table because it's not time yet. That was his first introduction.
We don't know what was time and what wasn't time because we don't know what happened when the cameras were off.
We don't know what happened when the cameras were off. But while he had the opportunity, to speak in front of his people, which is cool.
He would probably do something different because he was not expecting the cameras and the TV to be there.
Exactly what I'm saying.
He was not expecting the cameras and the TV cameras to be there.
Exactly.
To speak on what
he got
said
shocked
when you talked about the cameers and stuff. Right,
he wasn't expecting that.
Okay, he wasn't expecting it, but he still went in obedience to God, and he still, like I said, when the cameras were off, we still don't know what happened, and he still said he prayed for the guy.
You have to think about the implications too.
And listen. Let me ask you all a question. As someone that we know talks about our father, everybody's father, if we all in the room and we sit at this table like y'all doing now, and someone talks about Bishop Luke Witherspoon or Bishop Jerkins, what are you going to do?
But that's not even a question because that's my grandfather.
What I'm saying, don't talk about. We're not here to talk about Bishop Luke or Bishop Jerkins. We're not here to talk about Obama. We're here to talk about issues. So my thing is, you as a pastor, there was wrong for not speaking up and saying nothing.
Speaking on issues.
Who talked about Obama?
The other pastor who said that
has nothing to do with John Gray.
We're talking about Trump.
But I get what he's saying. What he's saying is the table was set to talk about issues and nobody talked about issues.
Right.
You feel what I'm saying? Right. Trump opened the door to open the table.
From what y'all saw.
Yeah, but we seen it, and we're the ones that's going through the. Y'all about to we seeing it, and we're the ones going through the issues. I've been in prison. You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
We seen it, and we're the ones going through the issues. 30%, 40% of the men in my family's in prison, and some of them was right, some of them was wrong. But what I'm saying is, at the opportunity he was given to talk about the issues, Trump opened the door, said, "Hey, here's the doors open. Let's talk about these issues." I don't care what y'all did behind closed door because that's not going to affect this community because we know nothing.
How do you know? How do you know won't affect?
Listen, because how do you know I need to know the people that it's affecting need to know about it.
You'll know about it when it comes out of legislation.
Listen, at the end of the day, if I'm at that table and they say, "Listen, I'm opening the door at this table to talk," and y'all gotta say this, and y'all gotta say this. If they tell me I need to, I'm like, "Listen, I'm not sitting at the table if I can't speak about this issue that you say we need to speak about."
Let me. That's because you. That's you
because their power is different. They nervous. They scared.
It's not that.
They were scared.
Let me explain something.
I don't care nobody say they were scared.
Let me explain something.
I was respectful to a leader of this nation. At the end of the day, whether y'all like Trump or not, he is still a leader. He's still a government leader. At the end of the day, it's a respect.
They were scared.
I need to explain something to everybody listening. Not for real, because we do too much talking over here.
Why would somebody be scared of Trump?
We have to understand.
What can
It ain't Trump that they scared of. It's the people that handed them papers and told them what they can and can't say that they scared of.
Right.
Honestly,
because you have to understand the process.
They had respect.
They had respect, but they shouldn't have been sitting at the table if they was going to talk about issues.
Listen. There was another clip.
I can't say what I was supposed to say. Guess what? I'm not going there.
There you go. Exactly what I'm saying.
Listen. We only played one of the clips that John Gray played.
Right, go ahead.
We only played one of the clips of John Gray explaining himself. And if you look in the Facebook chat, I sent it earlier. It's like the first one I sent. And you have John Gray where he's explaining not only the stuff that we already played in the earlier bit of the episode, but he's also explaining that when he went there, his mindset was that he would have the platform to speak
and
a lot more than he did.
And they cut him off.
And the thing is, when he got there, he was shocked at all the things that, he was like, we're going to be able to talk about these tables? Bet. Issues on the table.
Talk about it.
Bet I'm going to be there.
Right.
But then when he got there, he was surprised.
Right.
Because they told him, if you say this, we're going to knock your head off.
And he noticed. Right. And listen.
John, I know it's discouraging.
Y'all crazy.
For real. No, I need to say this.
One minute.
Because y'all been talking over me. I'm serious.
Jay finish, and then we'll get to Ely.
Listen. John Gray's a cheerful man. Anyone who's seen him speak has always seen a smile on his face.
Right.
I have never seen him sit there so stone-faced in any of
Right.
the interviews that I've seen. Doesn't matter what someone's saying. He's always smiling, laughing, nodding. This time, body language, hands all tight together, twiddling his thumbs
Right.
with a grimace on his
Absolutely.
face. Like,
Absolutely.
I wish I could say
Right.
what I'm thinking right
It
now.
wasn't right. It wasn't
But
a
if I
John
say
Gray
it,
Listen, and then Professor J, to add to it, look at what they're making. Y'all gotta understand when the enemy's working, he working all different ways. Look at what they're making public, and look at what they've always done to us. You feel what I'm saying?
Yep.
The parts that they're making public is him explaining himself to people, to the reason why he didn't do this and reason why he didn't do that, and then they making it public with him being quiet. At the end of the day, everybody can say what they want to say. Name something they made public when he spoke up.
I'm about to
when he
keep
spoke
it,
up.
keep it all the way stacked.
They haven't.
No, I'm going to keep it all the way stacked because we're working off of emotion and opinion.
Now we're working off of facts.
No,
These are facts.
It's emotion. It is emotion.
These are facts,
No,
though.
because there's somebody out here that needs to hear it, just like you need to
All right,
hear it.
go- say
There
what
is
you
a
gotta say.
process.
These are facts.
There is a process for everything.
You're right, and I get that.
No, stop. One,
I get that.
Our people as a whole need to take more accountability and observe integrity for the things that we do for ourselves. Period.
That's right.
To ourselves.
Wait, hold on.
No,
Where
let
you
me
getting at?
finish.
Where you getting
Let
at? Then
me
when you say
finish.
that, you ain't gonna tell me to
Yeah,
stop like I'm a boy.
yeah.
Where we getting at when you
Whoa,
saying
whoa,
that?
whoa,
though?
Okay, listen.
Yeah.
Moderator.
Where we getting at? When you
Moderator,
saying that? You gotta
moderator,
explain that.
hold on. Moderator here. I understand that some people are complaining that we're all talking over each other. Okay, finish your point, Ely. Go ahead.
And my point by saying that is, do we care about the dog and pony show, or do we care about what's actually going to happen for change, the legislation? We want to hear John Gray take over the conversation, or do we want to know what's going? Hey, maybe I was able to pull Mr. Trump to the side at this meeting. No, it wasn't on camera. But if we're not paying the legislation, if you're going to tell me about, oh, they don't care about us and they set the things up, and you can't tell me which legislations they're passing in your state and your local government, and we're not doing anything to make those changes, don't talk to me about what John Gray is supposed to do.
But you kind of saying exactly what I was saying.
No, I'm not.
You did.
I feel what everybody's saying, man. Like,
listen, there's one thing that everyone can agree about with Trump. There's one thing that I hear most everyone agree about with Trump. That you can't really tell him what to do. And some people love him for it, some people hate him for it. And the bottom line is, when it comes to his mindset, his natural mindset, he's hard-headed. Some people love it, some people don't. And I don't care what John Gray said to him on the side, only God can change the heart of man.
Exactly.
So at the end of the day, we all need to be praying for our leaders, whether we're dealing with a king like David or whether we're dealing with a king like Saul or Nebuchadnezzar.
I feel like I understand where Stephen's coming from. Steph really don't like the fact that Donald Trump controls the agenda and the narrative, correct? Exactly. And I feel how what D Hud is feeling like we see is like the before and the after, but we don't see that in between. But I'm also with Ely as well, because it's kind of like, I feel like you got to sit at that table, and I feel like we won't never see the ugly side and everything, because it's the saying, the revolution will not be televised. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah. Now, I'm going to say this. I'm going to go off the script real quick. Mm-hmm. That's just like going to the church and the pastor's a homosexual and everybody know it, but nobody's saying nothing. He continues
How?
to sleep.
We don't want to use that context. Leave that context alone.
To sleep with men in the church, but everybody's want to know. Let's pray.
Let's leave that context alone. Please, let's do it.
No.
Cause I could be real savage right now. Let's please leave that context alone.
John Howard.
Let's not even talk about what pastors are doing and how they living in this area.
If you at a table and a man does not care, who cheated on his wife
that's what kills me.
several times, who is the leader of this country and the lied several times, how do you have respect to try to sit down with somebody?
That's exactly
You know what? I'm gonna say I'm gonna just do it this way. When Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were brought before the king, literally was like, bow before this God or I'll throw you in the furnace. They still said respectively, "Oh king, listen, we respect you, but we're not going to diss our God. You can go ahead and throw us in the furnace, but our God's going to deliver us." But they still have respect for the very man who was about to kill them. Now, mind you, some people argue whether or not they knew they were.
They sounded Cree.
What was that?
You talking about no? I'm saying my Daniel is lying is dead.
Yeah.
I was saying my Daniel in Lion's Den was thrown in Lion's Den because he found the Cree, but the king didn't want to kill Daniel. The people fooled him.
Yeah, we're rewind a couple of chapters. We're in chapter 3 of Daniel.
The leadership, and the only reason why I'm saying this is that when you come to the table, when you know someone is not right and not trying to get, it's cool. If you can pray, but it's hard to change a person's heart when their heart's not right, and his heart's not right. Period.
Listen, we got. There's a lot of different ways we got to come at our leaders. Sometimes you got to tell them directly. Sometimes you got to be the Moses. Other days when it's Other days you have situations like when it came with David and his situation. We simply just talked.
Right.
Okay, well,
and I'm not faulting John Gray for going. I'm just saying when you got people like T.D. Jakes, Bishop Paul Morton, you have people like Al Sharpton and all these. Well, I say Joel Osteen. None of them was invited. They only invited certain ones that would come.
You know what?
So my thing, if you won't go after the heart of the strong leaders, and they probably was asked to come, and they probably turned them down.
You know, listen, when we got all these evangelical leaders, like John Hagee and Perry Stone up in straight line supporting everything they're supporting everything that Donald Trump did. They were trying to tear down everything Obama did. They're using Bible revelation to tear down the Obama administration. But when Trump's in bed with Russia, they don't want to say anything. When you have that going on with the evangelical group, and you have so much of that happening, even if they're not inviting T.D. Jakes, I'm glad Gray was there. Even if they're not inviting some of the bigger names, I'm glad someone was there, because at the end of the day, they're gonna be sitting next to Trump. They're gonna be sitting next to Trump, but at Sunday service,
I hope they come back and they get something done, because they talk about prison and people being in prison. Okay, let's see what happens.
All right, we got some comments on Facebook. Can somebody please read some of these comments? Somebody please read some of these comments on Facebook.
Let me see. Excuse me.
And while they're getting those comments together, I want to let you know that this show has been sponsored in part by Hawks Family Businesses, serving our customers and community for over 30 years, and Beacon Hall, turning moments into memories. So make sure that if you need to move somewhere, if you need some janitorial services for your business, if you need to have an event, a special event, you can hit up the Hawks Family Businesses, because they can assist you in all of these things in this area and abroad. So definitely make sure that you check them out. And I can honestly say and testify that they have helped me out. Even okay, I was moving something and I needed to move something at the very last minute, and I called them, and then a couple hours later they was right there with the moving truck ready to help me out. So definitely look them out. And if you want to have it's wedding season, if you want to have a reception, Beacon Hall is an amazing place to have a reception. So check out Beacon Hall.
I got an excellent moving thing for him in Washington D.C.
Yeah.
Avenue.
Okay. Let's see. That's what I'm talking about. Check that out.
So somebody, Janelle Austin said, I always say when someone opens a door, that's permission for you to walk through it. Yes, respectfully. I believe that he went there with the heart to speak about issues until they silenced him. It was as if they were giving a platform, but then they took it away by silencing him. However, if you have a platform and it's made public, that's when you're supposed to speak about it, so we the people can know that there are people out there, especially the body of Christ, that are standing up for us. You cannot sit in silence when you have the opportunity to speak up for the people. However, I do understand that he may not have known what he was walking into. I think you all are making a valid point. But I do not care really what was said off camera. If you couldn't speak on camera, to speak up for the people.
Right.
I think you're missing the bigger picture. Because I think the bigger picture. I think you actually made my point. He didn't know what he was really walking into, and when he got there, you're not gonna just at the end of the day, he is still a leader of the country, whether we like it or not. I think that nobody's gonna walk in there and just be flat out disrespectful by cutting things off when people have already made it clear that this is what can be said, was not going to be said, or however they did it. So I think the point is that we all know he went in there with the heart, to do whatever, to make whatever changes, but it wasn't shown on camera.
Minister John Howard, I would have to say that Trump is controlling all of the pictures. That's how I feel. He's controlling all the pictures, and
so what's the beef with John? That's what I don't get. What's everybody
with John Gray?
Yeah.
But John is why I go when you know everything's going to be controlling, and you can't really speak your heart.
He did not go.
If God sent you to go there, then let me speak. If I can't speak, then I'm leaving. Because then it's a photo op. It's like a photo op. He had John Gray sit next to him. And like my man said, that was the first time I saw John. And I know John. He had his arms folded. He was tense. He looked so uncomfortable being there.
I think that's a different type of power, though. When you're dealing with that government power, man, that's totally different. It's
no different when you got God with you. If God sent you there, then you're gonna tell the truth, whether they like it or not. If God sent you there, you're gonna speak the truth.
Right. If God sent you there,
you're gonna speak the truth, whether Trump kicked you out or like it or not. You're gonna speak the truth. He said, "Look, I didn't come for this. I didn't know that they was going to do this, but I got to speak on my."
Pastor John Gray, I applaud you because I applaud the respect for leadership, whether we agree with people or not. I do. I've always been the type of person of not to speak on pastors
honestly,
because of the respect I have.
I have respect for John Gray. I will say again that it was President Trump who controlled that narrative, and that's the only thing I'm saying. I'm saying that Pastor John Gray had great intentions, but all that happened was that he was made to look bad.
All right, but whether the meeting was put together, whether it was right or wrong to go to the meeting, he said he was obedient to God. I've heard that from a million people doing right and wrong. So we can't judge it. We gotta wait it out and see what happens.
Yeah, I believe.
If it was me, I wouldn't win.
Again, and I'm not cutting nobody out. I'll say it again. If God told you to do something, God told Noah to go to Nineveh. He didn't do it. He didn't do it. He disobeyed God. But if God tell you to do something, then you do and follow your assignment out.
Yeah,
it was incomplete because he didn't do what the law.
Let me read these.
They cut him off. He said, "No."
We got two comments.
Without being disrespectful, I need to say what I need to say. But if they cut you off, why go?
Minister Witherspoon, we have comments.
So the first one is Mariah Angela Tyree. She said, "When I asked my coworker who grew up in church as a Jehovah's Witness if she knew who T.D. Jakes was, she had no idea. Preachers like Bishop Jakes, Paul Morton, etc. are well known in the black church community, but John Gray is being made known cross culturally." And then
that's not true.
And then Minister John Howard said, "I applaud John Gray as well." And he also said prior, we're missing the big picture, which I
that's what I was responding to, because when he said that, I said the whole picture is being controlled by Trump, and that's what I don't like. But
yeah, I think when we get to that part of power, when you got $1 billion power, you don't know what he could say to that man. I will ruin you. Don't come over here and think that you're gonna make a fool out of me. I'm talking about this is what Trump could be saying to him. Don't think you're gonna come. I will do this. I will make your church or whatever you're following make you look like a fool. If you come in here, I know God. I understand God sent them on a plan, but what if the people that's in the government don't follow God?
And that's why I would never give him that type of control over my
so you
public
wouldn't
persona.
You wouldn't even.
I wouldn't give him the control over my public persona like that. I would never do that.
Absolutely, I agree with that too.
Okay, I see where you're coming from.
Look, God got control over
God. At the end of the day, God will vindicate John Gray, and that's my.
In a respectful way. I'm not
gonna keep talking about it. If he said God sent him on assignment and he was being obedient. That's between him and God. Sometimes in our walk with God, we do things we don't understand. We end up places we don't understand. I personally believe, and I'll say this again, and after this, I'm done with the conversation. I personally believe that John Gray is already on another level, and God is taking him somewhere crazy, and I believe that this was just a spiritual warfare, supernatural attack on him, and I believe this is something that he has to overcome.
Supernatural attack on him. I
believe it was spiritual. It doesn't matter. You have to look at the aftermath. It's aftermath. It's spiritual.
His wife warned him before he went there. He knew this was coming.
His wife warned him, right? His wife warned him.
He knew it was coming.
But he still said he was obedient to God. So at the end of the day, yes, his wife warned because
if God sends you, He's going to allow you to speak.
We don't know if he did not speak. We don't know what happened prior to the taping or after. But he also said he prayed. Y'all missed it. But he also said he prayed for everybody.
That's something on that. You said when God sends you, He's going to allow you to speak. I agree with that 100%.
That's what I'm saying.
Because everybody in the body, I respect you, but I got to say something about this. Everyone in the Bible who God sends, He allows them to speak. But when does He allow them to speak?
Thank you.
When it came to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they spoke after the furnace. When it came to Daniel the lion's den, he spoke a little bit before and a lot more after. When it came to so many people, they get thrown into this fire, this crucible where they're made into who they're supposed to be. So how do we know that God did not send John Gray into this crucible where he's under pressure, where he's under media fire, talking, and he's in a position that I do not envy. He is a black man talking to white people about issues they don't believe exist. That's a position I do not envy, and that's a position
Okay.
that
He
there's
didn't
no
talk
way-
at all.
He
wasn't allowed to.
That's not fact. That's not factual.
That's not fact.
In the community.
He didn't
That's
talk.
not
He didn't
factual.
talk when it mattered.
That's not factual. It's not factual, Steph.
He didn't get to talk when
It's
it
not
mattered.
factual. It's not factual.
He didn't get to talk when it
Everything we see
mattered.
on social media and on TV is a lot of it is not
I
factual.
think we
But
won't.
that's the narrative.
We see clips and pieces of things. We never see the whole
But
truth.
that's the narrative.
See,
That's
see,
my
some
point.
people love to go take stuff off
but
and
it's-
run off with it and
B,
start something. People
that's
love
my
to do that.
point. That's the narrative. If he would have stayed,
He had no control over the narrative.
So
he
why?
didn't even know what
That's
he was
my
looking
point.
into.
That's my point.
So
So,
what's your
if
point?
you don't have control over the narrative, then why would you put yourself in that position?
Because
He was already there.
No
He
one.
was already
I would have
there.
never went.
Listen.
He
Here's my
was already.
point.
He didn't know he didn't have. Maybe he didn't know he had control over the narrative.
I know that, and I
That's
didn't even
fine
get
stuff.
invited.
That's,
You know
that's
what's- you
fine
know what's
stuff.
funny? You know
But
what's
if God spoke to me today and He said, "I want you to go talk to or go pray for Donald Trump," I'm going.
Listen.
I could care less what A, B, and C got to say.
Listen,
I'm going to be obedient to God, and that's going to be that.
Listen,
you can say whatever you want to say.
I'm gonna
He
spoil the
lived.
answer
One
with
thing
this
about John, he lives in peace, knowing he was obedient, and that's all that matters.
Listen. I've been using men and women from the Bible all day as examples. So I'm just gonna skip all the men, all the women in the Bible who have talked with leaders and how they would dealt with it, and go back and go straight to our perfect example. Jesus, when he walked this earth, had no control over the narrative besides what was prophesied for him to do. You have all of these people who said, some say you're this, some say you're that. There are so many narratives about Christ, but after his resurrection, there was only one that stood. There ain't nobody saying that he was Elijah now. There ain't no one saying that there are people who are saying he was just a good man now, but the truth of the matter transcends the narrative. The truth of what God has for us and the plans that God has ordained transcends the narrative. Listen, I said this example on Twitter, and I'm going to say it again. If you look at Daniel, if you look at the entire book, you have this man who, despite how he got there, despite whether he could or couldn't do something, you have an Israelite working under 3 people who enslaved, brutalized, hurt, and killed his people, and he still stood for God. He still talked for God, and he didn't always have a platform to talk. He didn't always have a platform to do what he did. Sometimes he ended up in the lion's den. Sometimes he ended up being ignored. But at the bottom line, he always prayed. And even when it seemed like his prayers weren't being answered, he kept praying. And you know what the angel said to him when they came? He said, listen, we heard your prayer the first time, but I got held back by all this other stuff. So at the end of the day, we're looking at the natural. We're looking at what? Has it even been 72 hours
Can I
yet?
read these comments?
When Jesus
No, wait. We got comments I gotta read.
When Jesus was sent to the multitudes, he was.
Can we read these comments, please?
Jesus dealt with he was when God sent his son. Jesus did what he was supposed to do. He didn't hold back. He didn't do nothing. He did what he was supposed to do. He ended up getting crucified.
Sometimes Jesus called people serpents. Other times he didn't say anything about them.
Sister Darshelle Scott, she said they only aired 30 minutes of the meeting. He spoke for the people as much as he could in the moment. He was the only one not singing the praises of the race. And she said, I agree. Somebody has to be at the table with a voice of reason. You cannot go into the meeting kicking in the door like Biggie Smalls. I agree with you, Sister Darshelle. I totally agree. It's still a certain risk. It's still at the end of the day, people don't like him, but he's still an authority. He's still a leader, and that's the principle of the situation.
And I got a comment about what you said about Christ, about how he moved. When you look at it, there were sometimes he was knocking over temple tables, sometimes he was calling people serpents, and other times he just ignored people because he knew he was on a mission. Mm-hmm. And you look at the narrative of Christ, and it's not always saying everything that he knew, because if he said everything that if he said everything he knew, it would not have been able to be contained in the Bible. If he said everything that he knew on these people, everything that was wrong, everything that needed to change, if he spoke about every single thing, then there would have been the mission would have been lost. But instead, we have things that are.
Let me ask you a question. Okay. When God sent Moses, what did he tell Pharaoh to do?
Let my people go.
Thank you. Did he say, well, let me pray first?
You know what? I love you. I love the fact that you use that example. I love the fact that you.
Wow. I'm just saying, when God
said Moses, he said, let my people go.
He just said, I'm going to go there and pray. Let me sit down. Because
I love that you use that example. I love that you use that example because, listen. If John Gray's supposed to be Moses in this situation, then that means there's gonna be plagues coming to America, and we're getting ready to move. We're getting ready to leave this country and go somewhere else because God giving us a promised land, and he's going to take us to a new place. So if we're going to use Moses as an example when we're talking to leaders, we better hope.
That's right.
We
That's why
better
we gotta
hope
be careful with the
that
biblical
John Gray's
context
not
of this.
supposed to be Moses, because if John Gray's supposed to be
No, I'm
Moses,
saying
this country
that
is
you gotta
going
get
somewhere,
that
and I don't want to
anyway.
be here.
You do what
I'm about to
God sent
cross.
you to do.
I'm about to cross the Atlantic Sea,
I said out of
and I'll
respect.
follow
I said
by
out of
whoever the
respect.
Moses is.
I said out of respect. I just said go there kicking the door.
Well, hold on.
Donald Trump.
Sister
I just said
Darshell.
that. I said out of
Sister
respect.
Darshell, I'm with you 100%. She said, and this goes back to what I was saying about how we work for races. We work for races. We work with races. We live next to races. She said, how many times have we sat in meetings with ignorant people? Do you yell across the table in an unprofessional manner, saying blah blah blah? She said you have to use wisdom.
Yell out the N-word, it's going to be on the crack. And y'all know that. That's not. Come on.
No, she was saying John is not going to just go.
The N-word, we're going to have issues.
That's not what she was saying.
Period.
She was kind of in reference to what Steff was saying
I'm
about
sorry.
how he wouldn't go unless he could say what he wanted to say. At that point, John Gray was already there. Maybe he walked into something that he didn't expect. At that point, he's already there. It's called respect for your leader. He wasn't going to just walk out at the White House.
Because
he's already there.
Because I know, and I want the people who are watching, who are making comments, to hear me. Because I know what President Trump stands for, because I already know the history of everything he has said in the media, on Twitter, all this stuff, the stuff he just said about LeBron James the other day.
Oh my goodness!
Okay,
that's a whole episode.
That's what I'm saying. So when I know this, I am not going to go to his playing field where he has complete control. Even if I'm thinking with good intentions, I'm going to pray, I'm going to have a seat at the table. But this is this really a table? Is this really a table?
I agree with that.
Or is this more of like or is this more of a stage?
You know,
I think it was a stage, and I think that they were used. It was a photo op. It was a stage. It was not a table. You know, and that's why I don't want to go.
And you know what, Steph? That's exactly what I was. That's exactly why I was saying what I was saying. Real quick, I'm sorry. That's exactly why I was saying what I was saying, because at the end of the day, like I said, when I look at something, I look at what it surrounds. Like if I'm going to sit at the table with a person, you feel what I'm saying, and everything that he said about people that look like me has been off key. Like, you feel what I'm saying? If I look just like the same person you just call X, Y, and Z, and now and me personally, I'm super black. Like I'm dark as heck. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying, if I look just like the other 30 people that you just talked about, and now I have the opportunity to sit at the table in front of the people, in front of the millions of people that feel how I feel, you feel what I'm saying? And if you give me a script and tell me, you mean to tell me I can't ask you? I want to be. I want to say right. Look. I wouldn't. Hold on. I wouldn't just say I'll go in there and kick in the door waving the 4-4 like she was saying, like Biggie Smalls. No, that ain't the way you do it. But I would. But at least give me the platform to genuinely like a man. Or like a man of God, give me the opportunity to ask. I just want to ask a question politely.
Nice.
You know, it's
fascinating.
You know what I mean?
That's it.
One thing I was just thinking about is a lot of us know who John Gray is, but there are
that's all I want to do.
There are a lot of, because of this controversy, there are a lot of people who didn't know who John Gray was. We're gonna start listening to his sermon, start looking up who he is, start to really turn an ear to say, oh, this. Like, listen. I can guarantee you this. I work at a predominantly Caucasian evangelical organization when I'm not working at the station. And I see a lot of Trump. I see a lot of Trump's bumper stickers, and I see a lot of Obama bumper stickers, and a lot of Bernie ones. Go Bernie! But the thing is, when I'm in that environment, and I'm listening to everything that I'm saying, I have this one coworker, and I can use him as an example because I've asked him in the past, if it comes up, can I use this? And he was raised homeschool, completely Republican. All he knows is what he's been fed. We have the most interesting conversations because there's a whole world that he is not privy to, a whole world he does not understand, and a whole bunch of issues that when he hears from the ears of Fox News, he's like, okay, that makes sense. And not until I talk to him with my personal experience does he say, oh, you know what, I never thought about it that way. I never saw it that way. So you're going to have all these people who not necessarily have closed eyes but have warped perspectives see, hey, who's that black man standing next to Trump? He didn't say anything negative this time. Let me see what he has to say. Right. And that gives John Gray a bigger opportunity than if he had said something there, because if he had said something there, they wouldn't have heard him.
He shouldn't have
They
said.
wouldn't have
He shouldn't have went.
Once again,
He should not have went.
Who are you to say that, Steph?
He should
Who
not
are
have-
you to say that? You don't know if God
Because
told
of
him
what's
to go.
happening right now.
It doesn't matter
Because
what's
of
happening
what's
right
happening
now.
right
It doesn't
now.
matter. It doesn't
Hold on, what are you
matter.
saying? Hold on. Hold on. Be quiet. He's saying something. What was you just saying? I'm sorry.
I'm saying you got athletes. Now I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, but look what Jerry Jones.
Me too.
Oh no.
You can hang up now.
And Jerry and Donald Trump called them and thanked them with the social. Now we talking about social issues.
Listen,
about what the police are going on. And Jerry Jones said he wanted his players to stand, and they better not.
This is officially an anti-Dallas
Here we go
Cowboys show.
again.
I'm sorry.
listen. I want to talk about
Here the
Dallas
church
Cowboys.
go again, not knowing what the Lord told somebody.
Listen, I got you
You
something
at
to
the
say.
table to sit there and address. And if I can't speak my piece in a respectful way, then I don't need to be there.
I got two things to say about this. So first thing, when we talk about the sports entertainers, sports that's entertainment. We love sports. We watch it. Distracts us from our daily lives. Pastoring is not about entertainment. It's about the winning of souls. So that puts you on a whole different platform when it comes to what you're going to choose to say and what you're not going to say. Second thing I have to say about this, when I'm honestly looking at it, there's a big debate going on here that hasn't been said. It's whether or not you believe John Gray heard from God or not.
Right.
We have Beyonce saying he says he heard from God. That means it's okay. We have Steff saying he shouldn't have been there. Steff, do you believe John Gray heard from God?
I believe I believe John Gray hears from God. I don't believe that God said that.
Yeah. So when we look at that,
I'm
But I could be wrong.
Hold on, real quick.
Wait, can we let Jared finish?
Yeah,
He
that's
was
what I'm
saying
gonna say. Go ahead,
something.
Jared.
So when we look at that, like you were about to say, P2, we don't know what people are hearing from God.
This is very true.
We don't know what people are actively hearing from God. Because listen, again, starting in 2008, John Hagee and Perry Stone have been saying a lot of things about that they heard from God, about Barack Obama being a Muslim, about him being on the side of Al Qaeda, and all this other stuff that made me, especially the 700 Club, a lot of stuff that these evangelicals have been saying that made me lose a lot of respect for them, that they have quote unquote been hearing from God. But what I saw is through those 8 years that President Barack Obama was the president, there were prophecies that came true, and there were prophecies that did not. When someone says they heard from God, God does not leave it up to question. Whenever God says move, there is a result.
Well, absolutely.
We need to watch.
We need to wait for the result.
That's right.
That's
That's
not
right.
say
That's
anything else about
That's
what
facts.
John Gray should or shouldn't
That's
have
facts.
done.
That's
That's
like
facts.
what Sister
Did
Kia
or
said.
didn't
That's
hear.
facts.
Because
That's facts.
That's
you're
what
right.
Sister
You're
Kia.
right.
That's exactly what Sister Kia said.
Yeah,
She said-
in this
she said we
situation-
gotta watch for the fruit of it. At the end of the day.
Right.
Situation not like Ely said. I'll wait for legislation and the fruits.
Right, but
I
that's
feel like
why I said-
I feel like anywhere with Trump, anywhere that you're with Trump in front of a camera is going to be his stage. Y'all.
Right,
I think they
'cause
gonna
that's
set
what
it
he
up to
do.
make it his stage.
Minister,
But are we only having this conversation because it's black pastors?
Probably so.
That was the only
Probably
people
so.
that was
Nah, but the
all
fact
white
that the fact
United
that it's the
Definitely.
fact that well, we having it because it's Black Panthers and Black pastors.
can I just say
but-
something? Because this is really important. Minister John Howard said we are being distracted. This is a divide and conquer tactic on many levels,
Exactly.
and we're falling for it.
Listen, that's
Okay,
and
hold on.
Hold
So
on.
what should we agree on, D Hut? What should we agree on then?
Go back.
Mr. John Howard, what should if we're being is this divide and conquer? We're being divided.
God.
So are you
Sister
saying that we should all just join John
listen,
Gray and sit at the table being quiet?
No,
I'm not sitting at that table, man.
What
I'm
we
not
said was,
sitting on the stage.
Excuse me, for everybody,
My name ain't Token.
For everybody
My name is
listening,
Supa.
for everybody listening,
sorry.
for everybody
Go ahead.
listening.
Go ahead.
The end
P.
conclusion of this is wait for the results.
Listen, and that's pretty much
That's the end
where
conclusion,
and that's pretty much
everybody.
where
And we'll bring this back up when we see the fruit.
Can I add one more thing?
What'd you say?
You know why ain't gonna be no
Now we
result?
don't see nothing, Steph.
Because
You're right.
you're dealing with a person that I'm with Steph on this. It's no disrespect. Everybody say wait on God. This man done disrespected everybody. How you wait on God? How do you pray for somebody that, to me, I think is reprobate?
Listen, Nebuchadnezzar was put on his knees and made to.
Listen, this man's a.
I believe.
Minister John Howard said, "Can you call in? Call in.
I believe. Listen, I
Call
believe.
in, Minister John Howard. Call
Brother,
in.
listen,
We'll
I
go
do-
over a little bit on Jared's show.
Bro, I do believe.
Why? He done had all kinds of kids.
Right. Right, and I do believe, and I'm not saying I believe that. Go ahead. Oh, and I'm not saying I believe. I'm not saying I believe that he was or was not led by God. And I do want to see the results. That's why if everybody was listening to me when I talk, I always say if it was me. You feel what I'm saying? That's why when we was talking earlier, I said if it was me. if I'm not given the opportunity to at least speak peacefully, I wouldn't go, for the simple fact that I know what God told me. Before I went to the table, God told me to change my life and to live a certain way and to be an example to those that was in the hole that I was in. You feel what I'm saying? So my calling is to them. So if I get the opportunity to speak up for where I was and where I'm going and where the people need to be where the people is showing that they need to be broken at, I'm at they need to be corrected at or fixed that or help that, I'm gonna speak for that. But if you put me on a platform and you tell me and you say you can't say nothing, you got to do it according to this and that and the third, and that's not what God led.
You know what?
Then I can't do that.
I see above.
You know what I mean?
Wait 1 second before you answer. I see above the bigger picture. I actually see the bigger picture, and for me, the bigger picture is that he actually prayed.
Right, that was huge.
He sowed a seed, and we never know. We
gotta wait for the results.
We never want to judge anybody and say what can happen or what can't happen in somebody's life.
Well,
Minister John Gray has a huge. His church is definitely growing, and many people that were never interested in church are now going to his church.
Well,
so let's just stay tuned.
That's his story. That's why I said if it was me.
And let's see what God does in His world.
And we just got to wait for the results.
A person have to want to do right when you pray for them. I hope.
We got to wait for the results.
We don't know what his mind is at now.
Let's see what this caller. Hold on, we got a call. Let's see what this call is about.
And this hurts because I follow John Gray. I'm a huge fan of John Gray. I'm a huge
listen to
supporter
him.
of John Gray. I watch Relentless Church every week on Facebook.
I'ma still listen
This
to him.
hurts to have this conversation because I love him. Now, by the way, we now have Minister John Howard Jr. on the line as well. Go ahead, Minister John Howard.
How y'all doing?
Praise him.
Praise him.
First off, I just want to commend y'all for having this conversation. I think it's an awesome thing. What I'm hearing a lot of is us digging into the particulars, who said what, who was at the table, and this, that, and what God said to this one, that one. And honestly, we just really don't know at the end of the day. I mean, we can speculate and we can use scripture to validate what we think. I mean, people use scripture to validate slavery.
Mm-hmm.
So that's between, we only know what God said. Only people that know what God said to John Gray is John Gray.
It's John Gray, right.
And that's his speculation. My biggest issue that I see with all of it and how this whole thing is played out, this is a whole divide, and I don't really want to shift churchy on you or anything like that, but it's a big tactic of divide and conquer on many levels. What I believe with Trump is this. I think the way that thing was set up and the way they weren't able to ask Trump or whatever, however that happened, Trump knew that it would divide black folks.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Trump is coming up and starting to prepare for midterm elections. He knows, that us as African Americans really are not in his corner. So he says, all right, I can't beat him, let me divide him. Okay, and we're falling for it. So based on this meeting, if you look at social media, everybody's fussing, fighting, carrying on, calling these leaders coons and all kind of derogatory statements. And that's exactly what the enemy wanted. I'm not calling Trump the devil. I'm just saying Trump has his own interest, but also as far as the enemy is concerned, the enemy operates in principalities, spiritual wickedness in high places, on high levels. The enemy is trying to divide and conquer us as a race, us as a people, and now he's doing it between us as Christians. If we look at how this dividing...
Mr. John, let me ask you a question. Mr. John, let me ask you a question while you're saying that.
Go ahead.
If you know them by the fruit and godly, if you know a person's like this, which I agree with what you're saying, he's dividing, but if you know a person like this is of the devil and God's leading you, now he said he prayed about it. But if you're going down Lemon, everybody should go on YouTube right now. Down Lemon and John Gray had a great conversation. It was I'm saying, when you know a person, when a person is like this, why even deal with it when we already know he's like this? Like you said, he's trying to divide us, but he brought everybody because we talked about it. Because my issue, like I said, my only issue is that if a person is already like that, it's already like Steff was saying, I'm not even going to go to the table because I know what you're trying to do, and I should be led by the Spirit to see what you're doing.
Well, let me say this. That's where we get into areas that we don't know.
Right.
Because I can't tell you, and I understand what you're saying, Marcus, but I can't tell you and say for a surety what God told John Gray. I don't think anybody can. We can speculate. We can talk about what we would do if we were there, and we can say all of that kind of stuff. The bottom line, where my heart is and where the burden for me is how this has caused a division. Look at just the conversation you guys are having at the table. Just a few moments earlier, it got so heated between two of the brothers there that, you know, Steffen had to remind everybody that he was the mediator. Everybody had to back off. It's causing just division, and that is the big scope, and we're falling for it. Even if you follow social media, even Jamal Bryant, and he came out with his thing, and you know, so now it could be, you know, Jamal Bryant and John Gray are two of our foremost as black folks, two of our foremost leaders that have the attention of the millennial crowd. Okay, and if them two go at it and have opposing views, that's even more division. That's the only thing that's where my heart is. The Bible talks about in Isaiah, I believe, 58, about us being, if it's not 58, somewhere around there, talks about us being repairers of the breach. We're supposed to be bringing everybody together. This whole thing is just a divide and conquer tactic. And if we keep getting distracted by the issues and who said, we will never agree on what God told that man.
Right.
We won't agree on what nobody told, what God told anybody. Because we can find scripture. Everybody's a Bible thumper now. You can get on Google and find scripture to validate that will twist up and do anything you want it to do. So we don't know. So I believe, and I'm not trying to rain on a parade, I just think to even continue to dialogue about who is at the table. If God sent them there, I think it's pointless. I think we just need to really point at the bigger issue, and that's a divide and conquer tactic. Because if this thing goes on, Trump will be president again. I promise you that. If we keep fussing like this.
Right, that's 100%. That's why at the beginning I said, listen, it's not messing up the meat that's going on my table, and it is not changing the fact that right across the way in my community there's 10 to 20, 30, 40, 50, you know, young men under the age of 21 that are dying by the hands of the same young men that look like them because nobody never gave the opportunity to show them the way. That's why I said at the beginning, I dig the fact that he was at the table, and that's why I use the words "if it was me." No, the conversation got heated because nobody heard "if it was me." I'm not talking about John Gray. I'm just saying if it was me, I want the opportunity.
And notice what you just said.
You know what I mean?
Jamal Bryant wasn't invited to the table. You know why?
Because
they can't control Jamal Bryant. Not saying that they control John Gray. Jamal Bryant's going to speak his mind.
Well, because he care about his community.
He had people there that they said, "This is you going to respect." Not saying that he's going to disrespect Donald Trump. I think in a respectful way, he would have talked to him. But to get there and can't say nothing, and if God sent you there, to me, all I'm saying is if God sent you there, I have to do what the God said. I can do what God said to do.
I agree. I agree. But now, here's my issue with Bryant. Bryant now is coming off and tearing up all these other pastors. You know, I'm not saying he shouldn't disagree. He should disagree, but now he's
doing it.
And that's my main thing. I mean, of course, we know with Pastor Jamal Bryant, he gonna say what he got to say. He's who he is, and he should be who he is. That's all he could do is be true to himself and be true to God. But at the end of the day, now, you know, he came off pretty harsh against all these pastors that were there. Yeah, and, you know, notice our top tier pastors they kind of quiet. They ain't said much because I believe they understand it's a tactic of divide and conquer. They understand that you ain't heard much out of Bishop Jakes on this matter. He may say a little something, but I promise you it won't be anything divisive.
Right.
And that's my main.
You know what though?
That's my. As far as we're concerned, as far as millennials, the laws don't get changed really by the president. The Congress does that. We don't even know who our state congressmen are. We don't even know how to appeal to legislation. Let's deal with that. Let's get off the table.
I don't even believe Trump had. I don't even believe Trump had as much.
Listen, that's exactly what I was going to say. What the Lord was just showing me is as far as the enemy goes, it's easy to divide a people that's already divided. You get what I'm saying? We went in there at that table. That's why the faces they showed was all minorities. We already dealing with a culture and a people and in a church too. We're divided by denomination. You feel what I'm saying? So we're already we're already. It's easy. It's easy. All you gotta do is do a little spark, and it's going to turn to a fire with a people that's already divided. So I'm not saying John Gray. The Lord didn't tell John Gray that. That's why I'm not arguing his decision, because John Gray is on John Gray's calling and on John Gray's path that God put John Gray on. You feel what I'm saying? So that's.
I still believe that if God sent you to me, I don't have to explain to nobody if He sent me. I would be on.
You shouldn't have to break it down. That
one of the things
you shouldn't have to break it down.
Jared want to talk.
Go ahead, Jared.
Trying to come out and explain it. You have to explain yourself if God sent you.
Listen, one of the
God sent you and told you to do that.
Hold for 1 second.
Without explaining yourself.
Listen,
hold for 1 second, brother.
I'll say. Let me say this real quick about John Gray, and then I'll be done. I will say this: based on how John Gray conducted himself, he didn't fall into all the accolades as far as Trump. But based on how John Gray conducted himself, he'll be invited and sit at the table of
all
many
presidents
to come after Trump. And a Jamal Bryant, based on how he conducts himself, he probably will not.
That's right, and that's why God gives stuff to people that can handle.
That's why I said John Gray's walk was John Gray's walk.
But he was at the table with Obama.
That's John Gray's thing, though. Go ahead, Jared. Go ahead, Jared. Hold on, brother.
Of course, he was at the table with Obama.
Hold on, give me a second. Go ahead, Jared.
You just hit on exactly what I wanted to get to. 2008, President Barack Obama is elected president. And if you've been watching 700 Club, if you're watching TBN, sometimes it gets extremely difficult to watch between Hal Lindsey and all these other people who always had all this stuff to say when Obama was presidency, all this racially divisive stuff. But now when we are on the other side of the table, when we, the African Americans, are disappointed with Donald Trump, if we want to say anything negative about the president, oh, it's on divide and conquer. Oh, it's dividing the nation. But at the same time, you have literally these big evangelical leaders. You have Billy Graham's son. You had Jack.
Let me clarify. Let me clarify my statement real quick. I'm not even speaking to the Donald Trump. Donald Trump is who he is. You know, Donald Trump. President Trump is doing on a national level what he did on a local level in Atlantic City. So as far as anybody from Atlantic City area should not be surprised. He should be who he is. He's very consistent. He did it in New York. He did it in Atlantic City. Now he's doing it as far as the nation's concerned. My thing is not so much that Trump is dividing. It's we're allowing ourselves. It could be Donald Trump. It could be the man on the moon. It could be the Pillsbury Doughboy. My point is we're finding points of contention and we're being divisive along denominational lines, along racial lines, lines as far as ideologies are concerned. We're allowing that to continue to happen. And that's my point. It's not even. I'm not playing a blame game on anybody. I'm just trying to look at the big picture.
Right.
Thank you for your clarification.
That's what social media does, and it gives a public opinion. And whether you're in church or not in church, it will always be open. So when that happened with John Gray, he knew what was going to happen.
Thank you for your clarification. And that actually touches on what I was trying to get to.
When Steve Harvey did that, he got a big backlash, and then he came out and was trying to explain his stuff.
I agree with a lot. I agree with a lot with what you're saying about everything. Look, I really appreciate your clarification. But the thing about this is that Donald Trump didn't create anything new. He is a conduit for everything that we haven't been talking about. We've been divided about all of these issues. We just didn't know it because we never talked about it.
He's bringing it out.
We never talked about it. And I said this, and Steff, I hope you have that recording because I've been begging you to find it. I said this when he was running, back when it was hashtag Gospel of Steff and Morgs. I said during the election that President Trump is probably going to win. Bernie's out. President Trump's probably going to win. And he's going to be a conduit to talk about these issues. There are going to be more revolutions, more people talking about all of these things that have always been problems, but now we're standing up for it. When I was in high school, listen. Let's get away from our issues. Let's go with the national ones.
Let him finish.
I respect you. I honestly do. But please let me finish. There are issues that aren't even just black issues. Like when I was in high school, right? School shootings were still an issue. They're an issue now. They were an issue then. When I was in high school, school shootings were an issue. But my generation, the millennials, we didn't march for that. We didn't march like this next generation, Generation Z's doing, when they're saying, listen, there's enough school shootings going on. We need to march about it. Let's do something about it. Me Too has been an issue. It's been an issue forever. And now people are talking about it. All of these things.
With Trayvon Martin.
Yes.
When he got shot.
Exactly.
It was a big, but like John said, it's the congressman. If we don't get these guys out of Congress who's in there and these judges.
So our responsibility at the end of the day is two things: pray and be active. Mm-hmm. We can't just pray and sit at home during election day.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, listen. Too many people stayed home during election day, and whether there was Russian interference or not, there was too many people staying home during election day. We can't allow this to happen again. When 2020 rolls around, if we are divided, if we are not picking somebody to be in office, we lose. I can guarantee you. Listen, the business people who Trump is helping, they're behind him. The racist people who he's helping, they're behind him. The people who are indifferent to the suffering of others, they're behind him. The misogynistic people who don't want a woman in office, they're behind him. The people who don't want Democrats, they're behind him. We have all these people who are against us, who are behind him. And we need to turn out and vote. And we need to pray for the hearts of man that they start to see the issues for what they are. Because if people don't see the issues for what they are, we're going to be in the same conversation in 2022 talking about this is the sixth year of President Trump's presidency, and he's done something that's embarrassed the nation. And why is he there? Because enough of us didn't change the hearts and minds. Because here's the thing about Christians. We are called to be aliens and foreigners in our own land. And the thing is, it's a democracy. Whoever's in the majority, they're the ones who are going to have the rule. But if we focus on changing the hearts of the nation, if we focus on doing what we're called to do as the church,
that's right.
We are going to change the hearts of people to where their vote will be to the heart of what God has commanded. But if we sit back, if we allow everyone else to say, oh, you know what, I believe this, I believe that, if we sit back and allow the world to make decisions, the world is going to make decisions, and the world's decisions aren't going to align with what our vision is as the church.
I'm just going to read this comment. Pastor William Oatman said, "You can honestly judge what happens when cameras are involved." I'm sorry, I think he meant to say can't, but you can honestly judge what happens when cameras are involved because they present images or I don't know how to say this. Mirages, right? It is what is said behind closed doors that are of greater impact with a sociological structure.
Mm-hmm. Shadow of power.
Yes. I guess. I mean, after hearing everybody, I will say this: if I fell for that tactic of divide and conquer, I want to apologize to my listeners and all the viewers and all that type of stuff. Because the last thing I wanted to do was to fall for that. I
don't think you was doing that. I think you just said you wouldn't have went because
don't try to defend. He's trying to repent right now.
Listen, I'm apologizing for it. If it came off like I was tearing down my own people and trying to divide, that's not what I was trying to do. I literally got annoyed at the fact that I know Donald Trump and I know what he likes to do with his photo ops and with things like of this nature, so that's why. But at the same time, again, I love Pastor John Gray, and I have been a supporter of Pastor John Gray for the longest time. And when he had his pastoral installation, I was watching that thing on Facebook, cheesing so hard. Like, yes, wow! I remember when I was in New York in Jamaica, Queens, watching him in what was it, New Life Christian store doing a stand up in that little basement room, and now he's a pastor of a mega church. That's crazy, you know what I'm saying? And if he believes that God told him to do that, so be it. As for me, I just couldn't see myself doing that because of the fact that I know Trump and I know what he's about. But I mean, again, it's all about. In my
closing remark, I always try to give a closing remark. I thought I gave one earlier, but anyway, in my closing remark, I think the question is, are you as passionate about praying for our leader as not you? I'm talking about everybody that's listening. Are you as passionate as praying for our leader as you are about the situation? And take that, digest that, and live on it.
And can I get a second? Go ahead.
I want to say,
go after Jared.
So John Gray, whether we believe God used him, whether we believe it or not, I just want to thank Steff for his vision in how this show operates. Because Steff said he can't be in the White House because he would run his mouth. But the thing is, when Steff runs his mouth here, we get in these debates, we get in these arguments, every viewpoint is heard. Every discussion that needs to be had is had. And when you look at the way that this show operates, it's a blessing. I feel like it's a blessing to the community because we are all passionate people who have passionate opinions. And when we talk about these things, when we have it out, like Steff always says, when you put it all on the table, that's when the truth comes out.
Respect.
Right, and I want to take the opportunity if he's listening. You know, I mean, we got one of our brothers. I don't know if y'all noticed, and I'm gonna just can I say this?
Was he mad when he walked out?
I don't know, but I need to say this. But one of our brothers, and I call him a brother because he's been here with us. Lee.
Yeah,
if he's listening, during that heated argument, he's an aggressive kind of talker.
You are too.
But I am. But I don't put my hands on people. But I don't put my hands on people when I'm talking.
But it wasn't like that though.
But it don't matter. Hold on. Let me finish.
Okay, go ahead,
let me apologize.
Go ahead.
So in a mix of it because of who I am and how I was raised, I'm a man of God now. You know what I mean? But one thing I understand is another man's personal space. You know what I mean? And one thing I'll never do, aggression or not, is reach out and pull on other men especially during time of aggression. And one thing I'll never do is talk down to another man. I just don't do that. You know what I mean? So when you and I'm hoping that Eli, I hope you listen. I'm publicly doing this because I owe you an apology. Because as a man of God, as a father, as a husband, and as a brother, I should not have. I should have pulled you aside at the end and said, "Hey, when we discussing, don't talk down to me like I'm a child because we're men." So Eli, if you listen, I want to say that.
And I do want to say this too because can I just say something?
Right, this that divide.
But listen, I want to say this too because I'm a female. I'm a female, and I know how men and the Eagles are.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say from a female's perspective, I don't think it was stopped like he was talking.
Right.
Let me finish.
He explained that to me.
Okay, listen.
He explained that to me.
In my opinion, because you know I love you. You're my big brother. I keep it 100. You know that.
Right. Go ahead.
In my opinion, I think it was more like because it was so heated, he was trying to get you to listen.
I think it was a fan move.
But that's why I'm. But that's you.
But you have to be.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I think
I'm completely saying that.
That's a you issue.
No. I don't like the word that.
Did I not say that? I said that.
No. I know my brother more than you know my brother.
Well, look.
So now we turn it to another issue.
No.
Y'all messing up my apology.
Hold on.
Trump doing to us.
Y'all messing up my apology.
Oh no.
I understand.
I'm just kidding. Just joking.
But no, y'all messing. And I was even getting offensive for my brother because like he almost pulled you out the chair.
What I'll say is.
Like and what I'm saying is, go ahead, bro, because everybody done cut my apology.
I'm sorry.
Well, hold on.
Before we get a chance to finish apologizing.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Finish your apology. Then I gotta bring on our owner because our owner is on the line.
Oh yeah. I can finish the apology after him.
All right, bet. So we have the owner. Oh shoot, who hung up? All right. Who's okay?
That must have been Mr. John Howard, probably.
Wait, is Mr. John Howard you here?
John,
I'm here.
Oh,
he's there.
Minister Marcus?
Minister Marcus? Okay, Minister Marcus hung up.
We lost Marcus.
All right. So, we're gonna hear from our owner and founder, Deacon William Hawks. What you got to say?
Hey, well, first of all, get Marcus back on the phone because he know I'm going to ask for an offering all of that time he took. Tell him, please don't hang up now. Hey, look, I enjoyed y'all today. I was catching snippets of the show, but I want to just emphasize that that's what WEHA is all about. Anytime that there are overthrows of governments or anything where there's a resistance being mounted, the first course of action is people try to overthrow communication mechanisms. The fact that you guys have a platform, and I'm talking about all of the commentary that you hear on WEHA, whether it's spiritual, natural, political. It's a jewel. It's something to be savored. And though everybody might not agree, the fact that you have the outlet to at least express yourself, I think I heard that earlier, it's something precious. And we want to guard it. We want to respect it. In that, we have to respect each other. Even though we don't always agree with one another, some of our commentary differs from one another, but it's your God-given right to express yourself. With all of that said, I want to just let you know how proud I am. A lot of times, because you guys have that young energy, if you will, for instance, and I've been challenged, and I'm just going to say it, I've been challenged about hashtag gospel in the past.
Yeah.
As well as some other shows. I've been challenged. Why you got them on there? They always fussing. They don't listen, blah, 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 blah. I've had people say all this.
Yeah.
And I said, I thank God because they have the guts to talk about issues that a lot of people, for instance, that may have a lot more just information, if you will.
Right.
Maybe even so-called qualified.
Right.
Won't dare to come on or call in and give any, type of help or commentary or opinion about anything. They'll just listen. I'm not mad with them, but hats off to those young people that would dare to come on and talk about issues concerning our community, the church, whatever it may be. Only thing I would ask of you guys is make sure that you understand that you are representatives of, number one, Jesus Christ. This station. This station is a real station.
Yes, sir.
We're governed by the FCC, and I'm going off into something totally different because I am the owner.
Yes, sir.
We're governed by the FCC. We have guidelines that we have to follow. Even every hour, we're supposed to take a identification break. That's in our FCC guidelines, and we can be fined if we don't do it. So the only thing that I'm saying to you, and particularly you, Steff, as being the moderator, if you will, that you have to always maintain a decorum, if you will. You have to always maintain a certain civility because at the end of the day, it is a business. All of the shows that you listen to on TV or whatever, they stop after their 15 minutes, and they can be heated, they can be over the top. But they say, look, we hold that point, we got to take a commercial break. We have people that have paid for commercials. I've been hearing you talk about Hawks Janitorial and all of that, and we can talk about that. But there are people that have paid their good money to hear their commercials. And we can't go 2 straight hours and no commercials. So I'm saying that, and I'm saying it because I need everybody to understand how serious of a platform this really is. With that said, I'm very, very proud of you guys. Your viewpoints on a lot of these issues that are being raised are very, very serious. One more point, and I'm going to hang up. The fact that they were invited to the White House to talk about prison reform is something that has plagued particularly the black and brown community for generations. And if we would have a spot at a table to at least express some sort of dialogue, it's a good thing. I think I heard somebody say earlier, when you are dealing with people like a Trump or a lot of people even in Congress, for instance, who have never been on the side of the tracks, they can't even begin to fathom what we have actually come accustomed to for generations. But if we can at least get a seat at the table And I hear you, Steph. I can question, is it a real table or whatever. But I'm just saying we have to start somewhere. Mm-hmm. It actually starts right here in your own community, Atlantic County. Most of us, as John Howard said earlier, we don't even know who our state legislatures are. We don't know who our congressmen are. We don't know who our elected officials are or anything. Because this stuff is really, really plaguing our communities. This is why, and I'm going to take it here, the station, we are very, very financially challenged with respect to our bills. That's why you always hear me, and it's even like a off-the-cuff joke. It goes deep. He's going to talk about money and this and that and the other, because we cannot have platforms like this if we're not supported. And to not have these platforms, it's a sin and a shame. Because guess what? Somebody's viewpoint is being heard. Why not ours?
Right.
Why not ours? Mm-hmm. So, like, for instance, how many of y'all are in the studio right now? In the studio? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4 of us right now. It was at one point it was 7 of us, but it's 4 of us right now.
If all 7 of y'all that was in the studio and the 2 that was on the phone, and I'm not throwing shade. We everybody keep talking about keeping it 100.
This is the place to do it. This is the place to do it.
Everybody always say that, right?
It's the place to do it.
Everybody in there say, okay, you know something? I'm gonna sacrifice $10. That's the 2 on the air and the 7 in the studio. That's $90. That's huge for our station. That's huge for our station. So I'm saying that anybody can take it the way they want to, because y'all took it there. I love everybody. I appreciate everybody, but it's not easy. And then I've made a conscious decision, me and my wife, that guess what? We're not going to just be Christ-centered. We're going to be community-focused. We want to be able to speak those viewpoints to people, for instance, that normally don't have a viewpoint, or let alone is heard at any time. You understand what I'm saying? We can speak truth to power. We can talk about issues that pertain to us that they just don't talk about on other stations. And when you hear it on other stations, it's coming from a syndicated program that's being broadcast from California. They don't know nothing about you. So all I'm saying is respect it and appreciate it, and continue, as Beyonce was saying earlier, continue to pray for it, because it's more than a notion. And that's why we do what we do. So I love you guys. Thank God for y'all. Keep us in prayer in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen.
All right,
Amen.
We gotta wrap up because we in Jared's time.
Yeah, we are.
Going over
Shout
way
out to
too
Jared
much.
for.
So I'm actually pretty excited because, so you guys remember August the 5th last year was when I had my accident, right?
Uh-huh.
And so coming up in this next hour, I'm just gonna be talking a lot about that because it's been a year of recovery.
Play praise break real quick. Hurry up.
It's been a year of recovery. I don't have much to say. I don't have much to say about it because you know what?
The one I have much to say, just give him a praise.
Just gotta give him praise. Just gonna lift my hand up for that one. And it's just that's what's coming up for CCM 101. We had a great conversation on #gospel, and we'll definitely follow us on Facebook.com/HG Squad. And Steff, it's my show, but this is still your show. Go on.
Minister John Howard Jr., thank you so much for hanging in there and calling in and giving your viewpoint and not being afraid to say what was on your mind.
Appreciate it, man. I always love what y'all doing, and keep the conversation rolling. Don't lose your fire. Don't lose your passion. And you always got my support, man. Love y'all.
Love you, man. Love you. All right.
All right, peace.
All right, peace. And thank you guys for sticking and staying and always being unfiltered on this show. That's a very brave thing to do, to say your opinions and in front of all the listeners and viewers. And Deacon Hawks is right. There is even a criticism that comes back, and not just for the technical stuff like, oh yeah, well, maybe they're over talking each other a little bit too much. They sometimes it's criticism just because of the views that you guys have.
I foresee. Yeah.
You know,
right,
so
right.
It's a hot seat to sit in. And
I do want to say that we had a couple of calls during that call, just to tell us about how wonderful they enjoyed the conversation, they enjoyed the show. Number of bishops called, so I did take those calls.
Oh yeah,
they know who they are, but I'm not going to say anybody by name. But
they didn't want to be on the air.
They didn't want to be on the air.
And they said what?
And they loved the dialogue They loved the dialogue we had. They loved the entire conversation.
Oh,
They just
nice.
wanted to pat us on the back for it.
Nice.
Well, thank you for the support, everybody. Who I think I saw Bishop Pastor Oatman said that this was a great show today.
Yes.
So appreciate everybody who said so. And as far as Ely and D Hud is concerned, I want to say to you guys, we family. So at the end of the day,
100%.
I feel like sometimes, I know with my family in particular, when we talk, I mean, we kind of like this. We're kind of like this.
Right.
So but as long as you understand that through all of that passion, it's it's love. You know what I mean?
Right.
So even when him like reaching out to you, I feel like that was like a love thing. Like,
and it was,
bro, like, you know what I mean?
And it was, and that's why I wanted to. But I didn't. At the first 8 times I received it as that, you know what I mean. But in the heat, in the mix
8
of
times,
that, I'm over exaggerating.
He's like that though, because he's very. Yeah.
He's doing that to all of us. You know what I mean?
He's touchy, but I get that. That's why me personally, I actually sent the message on the side. None of y'all ain't see, and asked him, hey, come back to the station because I'm personal.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I'm not touchy, but I'm personal. So, as for me, as a man of God, as a brother, I want to look him in the eyes. You know what I mean? And if he's listening, I want to tell him, look, man, I apologize if I offended you in any way because I never meant any offense. But I do want you to know that it's parts of me and it's probably parts of you that God is still dealing with and that needs some growth. And because I'm from where I'm from and I was raised the way I was raised, just certain touches are certain
in the moment.
In the moment,
right? I get it.
In a moment, in a moment, certain conversations in a moment and certain words you say, not you, but in general, may offend somebody else. And in that moment, that's how I dealt with the offense.
Yeah.
I was offended, and I dealt with the offense in that such way. But me as a man of God, I want to say, bro, if you listening, I apologize. If you show back up, I'm gonna do it again in person, face to face, because that's what we do. All right. It's always love. Never no issues. Period.
Amen. All right, y'all.
All right. Peace and love, y'all. We got Steff. Steff gonna close us out as soon as he get off the phone.
Okay. All right. And so, last but not least, shout out to the owner of the station for calling in and patting us on the back and giving us his perspective as well. And I definitely want to say that this station is a great platform for all of us. And I'm grateful that we all get to sit here and do what we, do what we do with no filter.
Said this about like 2 minutes ago.
No, I didn't say the
Kinda
station.
did.
I didn't say the station.
Station. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm saying the station. I really thank the station for giving us this opportunity to
sir,
be unfiltered and do this thing. Because honestly, even when this show first started, it was a completely different show than it is now.
Oh yeah.
And to give us the creative freedom to actually take it in this direction is something that hopefully it's understood that we don't take it for granted. At the same time, it's so many things that still need to get done. That's like has not okay. Yeah, we put on a great show. We put on a great show. I get that. People have already agreed that it's a great show. But at the same time, we got to take care of the platform that allows this show to exist, and we can't take the platform for granted. And I don't know exactly how to help to save the platform. I don't know all that, but I do know that it's something that can be done. And the least we could do is do what the owner who really experiences the brunt of the responsibility and all the mess that comes with it to keep this thing running and to keep this thing moving. The least we could do is do what he asks us to do to help out. Even, you know what I'm saying? And I know there's even more things. Everybody has ideas and perspectives on what could be done to help the platform to stay afloat and to even go to the next level. But at the end of the day, none of us actually paying the bills here. It's only two folk that actually pay the bills here. That's Deacon Hawks and Sister Hawks. So shout out to y'all, and we urge everybody to please support the station in any way that they can, and for the people, the soldiers who are actually part of this station, we need to do what they say. We need to just kick in and get in the trenches with them. What they say in Glory, kick in like men. Like men, kick in. Oh my Lord, 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 Lord. So that's what I had to say. That I feel like I had to say that. All right. So that being said, we'll see y'all next week. This was an emotional roller coaster of a show, and I am spent at this point because I felt so many different emotions during this show. All right. Beyonce in the building.
Praise him.
Tal James is in the building.
Peace out, y'all.
Minister D Hut's in the building.
Yeah.
And I'm so blessed to see Geist here. He's coming up next on CCN 101.
Big Geist.
Happy to see y'all. Ely, we love y'all. P2, we love you. Stay tuned for Professor J, CCN 101.
Peace and love.
We'll see y'all next week, y'all. Peace.
Gospel 88.7 WEHA. It's more than music. It's ministry.
WEHA, Port Republic, Atlantic City, and now on FM Translator 100.3 W262CF, Atlantic City, Pleasantville. Gospel 88.7 FM and 100.3 FM. WEHA, We Have Gospel presents Up Close and Personal with Jermaine Jolly. It's your boy Jermaine Jolly. Friday, August 17th, 2018 at Beacon Hall, 243 St. Louis Avenue, Egg Harbor City, New Jersey. Also performing India.